Welcome back to another episode of my Volkswagen Crafter van build. Today I'm going to be fitting a underslung water tank. I've been using a actual water container which is about 25 litres I think, but that just doesn't hold enough water if there's two of us having a shower with the dogs, etc. So what I've decided to do is to fit this tank. It's especially for the Volkswagen Crafters. It contains all the brackets as well, with my brackets. 3 stainless steel brackets comes with the kit, and all necessary fittings. It's quite a big tank, I think it's about 63 litres. And it's moulded to suit the underside chassis of the van. It's got 2 outlets, so you can have a fill and a obviously return, and it has these little vents in them as well, so you don't get airlocks. So that's what I've been installing today. So before we go out in the van, let's just take a look at the brackets you get and the fitting kit that comes with it. Let's just move this out of the way. So these are the pre-formed stainless steel brackets. The holes are for fixing up into the chassis with, and these are to fix the actual tank and secure it. You get 3 for the medium wheelbase, and I think 4 for the long wheelbase. So in the fitting kit, let's get these out and have a look what you get. You get two different angles and a straight connector. These accept 20mm hoses. You've got these screws to connect the brackets to the tank itself. You get some tape for obviously your seal of your connectors, and you get 15 of these like self-tapping tech screws. They've got the self-drilling ends. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, and those rubberized washers as well. You get 15 of those, and they go up through these holes to secure it to the chassis. So let's go outside and have a look at the underneath of the Crafter and see exactly where it's going to go. So this tank sits on the driver's side. Being in the UK, this is a right-hand vehicle. It won't fit on the left-hand side because that's where the fuel tank is situated. So this is the area it sits in. It goes in between these sections, and these are the cutouts in the tank where these supporting rails are. So on the van, let's have a look to see how these brackets go. So they are pre-formed to suit the Crafter itself, and these are fixed with 2 tech screws up there into the chassis and 2 tech screws into the seal, and there's 3 of these brackets, and then it provides a good base for the tank to sit on. So back in the garage, I'm going to just install the brackets onto the water tank on the bench. Just easier for me to just screw them on when it's up high and it's just level. So I'm going to start by just putting on the 3 loosely. As I said previously, there are holes for the actual bolts to go through. So the bolts you get with these are obviously stainless steel as well, and they contain Allen key ends. I think it's about a 5mm Allen key. So these are where these go into these pre-formed bolt holes. So the stainless steel bracket just slides across, sits in, line them up, and then you can put the actual bolt holes in. Make sure that's up tight. I wouldn't over tighten these because at the end of the day these are just pre-formed in plastic, so you can easily de-thread them. Strangely enough, there's no bolt holes on the other side, even though it does come with extra 3 of these bolts. Maybe that's for a different size tank and that's just a universal kit, but as you can see, there's no holes on the other side, so they just bolt up. So I presume it just holds in place when all the brackets are fixed. Okay, so when we come to fit these threaded connectors for the hoses to supply and fill, you can see these are all filled already, so these have to be drilled out. I suppose it's for universal applications. I'm not going to use the top one, I'm just going to use the bottom one because I'm going to come up with a different way of filling it, either from a hose coming from the top through a connection on the van or some other means yet. So I'm just going to connect the bottom one because that's going to be the lowest point and that's going to be my feed to supply my shower and the taps, etc. So the first job is to drill this one out. I'm going to use probably, let's measure it and see what size I'm going to use, drill bit. Yeah, so I'm going to use a 22mm bit if I've got one. That will just stop me from damaging the threads and allow maximum water flow. Okay, so I found a 22mm spade bit, so I'm just going to drill it out using this. I haven't got a high-speed steel bit that wide, so I'm going to have to use one of these. So it's a good idea to hoover out all the swarf left over by you drilling out the plastic. Then it won't end up in your water system and clog up your filters. But it's got a nice big hole for easy access, and also if you're using it as a great waste container, it's easy to empty it. Okay, so I'm going to use this PTFE tape, is it? PTFE thread seal tape. So I'm just going to wrap it around the thread to make sure it's a nice waterproof or leak proof connection. Okay, so the tank is now ready for installation. This hole here, I believe, is for a water meter, which I'm going to probably install afterwards. That'll tell me how much water I have in the tank at any one time, but that's going to be a future installation. I've got one on order, but it hasn't arrived yet. So I'm going to put this up, see if it all fits, drill the holes, and then at some point drop it so I can install the water meter. So the 15 tech screws you get with the kit with the rubberized washers, that's an 8mm socket. I've got a socket here that fits in the drill, so that's what I'm going to use to drill it up and fix the tech screws up to the chassis through these brackets. So we have a small problem. This bracket is fine here, but when you look at the middle bracket, it hits on the exhaust. Let me spin you around and show you. That's either a design issue or the holes are set out for different, maybe the long wheelbase. So what I'm going to have to do is to take off this bolt and slide it along and not have a bolt that fixes in to the actual tank itself, because there's no way that's going to go up there. so you can see it fits really flush, and from the outside you cannot actually see there's a tank fitted underneath. So with this connection, I've got to run a pipe from this connection all the way to the back of the vehicle, because that's where I'm going to have my outlet for my outdoor shower. I might use this like elbow instead of the straight connector, because it gives me less of a curvature of the pipe. Probably need to finish as well. So I've got one the actual pipe from the outlet of the tank all the way to the back of the van. So and I've got to try to avoid all the chassis rails, the brakes, the hot exhaust pipe. So I'm going to have to find a route that's the best way so it avoids any obstacles I've got. So today my water indicator has arrived, so I'll be dropping the tank and installing that today, and then I can refit the whole unit. So I ordered this water gauge. It comes with all the necessary wiring, the actual probes itself to determine whether it's like filled up, halfway filled, or running out. These are easy to cut. You can cut them to the size of your tank to suit, which I'll be doing in a minute. It comes with this little gauge here as well that needs to be connected to power to work it and operate it. And it comes with a little surround here, but I've opted for this surround to match all the other electrical fittings in my van, so that obviously goes inside there. It also comes with instructions for various languages, and as you can see by the diagram, I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but you can set it to like different heights by cutting the probes to suit your each individual tank. It just needs a connection to a 12-volt positive and an earth, and the rest is just plug and play. On the tank I've got, there's a recess already available for this type of probe, and I suppose any type of probe. So it obviously goes in there. Obviously this is upside down, and what I would do, obviously it does fit, because this top here is actually flush with the underside of my vans. There's no actual space, and even these little air vents here are rubbing on the underside, so there's no room. So if you do get one of these probes or a different make sure that it actually fits in the recess. Comes with a little gasket there, so you can see that is quite thin. It's only sort of that size, which is probably about 10 millimeters plus the cable, so there's plenty of room there. It becomes more apparent once I drill the hole out and insert the probe into the tank itself. So the problem I have is to get my hand in to see if I can get to there to do the nut up, which there's no way I'll be able to get my hand round to that corner. So I'm going to have to come up with another method of securing it. So what I'm going to have to do is turn this back over, is to probably silicone or glue it in place. There are screw holes in it as well, so maybe that's what they're for tanks that you can't actually get your hand into, and you can put like self-tapping screws into this as well to hold it in tight. But let's have a look at that once I drill the hole. So I'm just using a 50mm starrett cutter or hole cutter. I'm just using a bit of sandpaper just to clean the swarf off. So I've just marked it with a Sharpie these are the two bottom ones. I think one of these is the positive charge and the rest just pick up the resistance, because water is a conductor. That will, not sure exactly how it works, but I think this is just picks up the resistance and then lets you know how far the water is in the tank. Okay, so now I've cut the probes down to size. That's the top one, medium one and the bottom ones. Should just insert, hopefully, into here. Take off the nuts. Washers I've already took off. And if you've cut a 50mm hole, it should just screw in tight. Okay, so before I put it all back in the van, I'm going to conduct a little experiment. So I'm going to fill the tank up with water just to see if it actually goes up into these individual sections. And I also want to test my height level indicator. So I'm going to rig it up to a hose, fill it up and then see if it actually works properly and also no leaks. Okay, so these are the two connectors I'm going to use. These are the ones that come in the pack. I'm going to use one for an air vent and then one as a fill. So that's what I'll be installing now. I've got a drill in the side of the tank to install these, put them through and then fit the locking nuts, and that should be ready to go. Okay, then I've just got this pipe work and a couple of Jubilee clips that I'll fit two pieces on each end. One of them is just as an air vent, so that can just be left hanging, but the other one is going to be my fill. So that's what I'll be putting down on the side of the vehicle with a tap, so it's an easy fill mechanism. As this pipe is quite rigid and hard, what I did is I got a hot air gun and just heat up the end, so that made it a little bit easier to push on, and then I got a Jubilee clip and then obviously tightened it up. Okay, so in the valve kit you get, I ordered two because I wanted an inlet and an outlet. So in the kit you obviously get this blue hose. I'm not sure how actually long it comes, but it is long enough to reach one end of the van to the next. It comes with Jubilee clips as well. You've got this valve, you can shut it off. These are just the old push fit connectors. You've got a typical hose lock connector. You've got this aluminium plate so you can fix it to the van, and various other connectors. These are straight connectors, but as I showed you before, you've got these angled ones as well. So the way they go together is obviously got this is a push fit connector, so you've got this one that just slips inside, and then you connect your hose to this end, and then on the other side you put your aluminium plate and then screw your hose lock type connector onto it, and then this gets mounted onto the framework of your van or where else you want to mount it. I'm going to tip mine downwards so it's easy access to the valve to turn it on and off, and then my blue pipe connects into this that goes to the tank. This is going to be my outlet to my JOOLCA shower, and then on the other way inwards, this is exactly the same valve, but this is the way the water is going to go in and fill my tank up. So I decided to change the plastic fitting to a brass fitting. It was just a little bit stronger, and the connection, I can just put a 15mm copper pipe to it and then I can put the hose onto that, rather than this one is like a 20mm hose, so then I would have to get this 20mm down to the next size to connect the actual pipework up with. You can get these brass fittings from any plumbing shop or DIY shop. It's just I think it's called a tank connection. And then on the other end that connects to the tank, I fitted the blue hose. I've just used some 15mm copper pipe with a Jubilee clip, and then this goes on the tank connector with an olive. That will make it nice and watertight and secure. It's better than the plastic fitting, because over some time I think the plastic could crack or deteriorate. But if I use this copper pipe, then it's a lot stronger. And then these are optional straight connectors, but I've gone for the angled connectors. So I've connected the fitting here. I've used a tank connector in brass this time rather than the plastic one supplied. It's just a little bit stronger and it'll probably last a lot longer. And I've just got some 15mm copper pipe going into the hose supplied from Camper Interiors, because they've also supplied my little end here, which has a tap and a ordinary like hose lock connector with a aluminium bracket, so I can fix that on the van itself on the back, and the hose will go from the tank all the way to the back of the van, and that will power or supply water to my JOOLCA shower. And on the other end here, which you see me install the hoses, this is just the overflow. So when the tank is filled up, you can see the water coming out, then I know it's filled up. And then on the other end, this is going to be my fill. Again, using the same connector I got from Camper Interiors. There's a little stop valve there, and again the bracket. So I'm going to mount this one on the side of the van near the tank, so I know that's the fill. And then obviously this is my supply end to my shower, or even if I wanted to later on connect a sink inside the van, I could use this as well. First of all, I'm just going to test my level indicator. So that's the connection. Got my little wiring harness rigged up, all supplied with the indicator itself. This is the little display, so you press the button, it powers it up and it gives you a reserve, 2, 3 and 4. So obviously when all the lights are illuminated, that's full, then halfway and then reserve. So it's just a connector that just clips into place, or it should clip into place. I think one of these connectors is bent, so it's not going in properly. Okay, so that's that connected in. It's going to need a supply, so I'm going to use a battery for now. Positive, negative. So that's orange, has illuminated. Let me bring you closer so you can see that. Okay, so I've got my external hose supply for a mains tap, connect it onto my hose lock and then turn the water on and see what happens. I can certainly hear it filling up. Always a good idea for check for any leaks as you go. So those leaking air vents show that each individual section of the tank is filled with water. So yeah, I was quite surprised at that, because I didn't think, maybe it's the pressure that fills up, but then those air vents let the air release, so the actual cavities do fill up with water. So now all the lights are illuminated, and the green one at the top means it's completely full. Then you've got the two amber ones, and when it goes to red on reserve, that's when you know it's time to fill up. That is really heavy. I'm not convinced that those tech screws on those 3 brackets are going to be strong enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is empty the tank again, give it a clean up, and then it'll be ready to install back onto the van. Right, so now I've got everything together and everything's ready to assemble the van. So I'm going to take it outside once it stops raining. Doesn't look like it's going to stop for a while, but once it does stop raining, I'm going to take it out and then reassemble it in the van, and then hopefully put all the connections on, fix these plates on the side of the van. Not entirely sure when we're putting them yet, but I want to get the tank up first and the hoses in place, and then decide what my fill point is going to be. So that's what I'll be doing next. Okay, this is where I installed the infill on the side of the van with the tap underneath, so just plug in the hose and it's ready to go. On the one that comes out of the tank, I did first of all mount it at the rear of the van, because that's where my JOOLCA shower system is, but that hose is a long route really for the pump. So I decided to fix it on the side of the van again with a much shorter hose. So the reason why I've done that is because it's a much shorter route and it takes less effort for the pump to pump it around. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.